Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Preece.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, or how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business through to the end consumer, or how to go about finding an investor if you're ready for that aspect. Bottom line is we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important aspects of this journey to establishing and growing your brand. Tracy and I have been doing this a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes, and we've done a few good things, so we're here to help you. Please follow our podcast on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a review, and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. Tracy?
Bruce and I have been involved in consumer packaged goods commercial operations roles for over 30 years. We define commercial operation functions relating to sales, marketing, trade marketing, broker and distributor management, agency selection and management, new product development, brand acquisition and divestitures, and customer management. We also invite on our episodes friends and former colleagues from all aspects of the Road to Retail process to come on the show and offer their opinions and experience. Again, we encourage you to subscribe to our iTunes or Spotify channel at Road, 2 Retail.
So Bruce, tell us about our newest sponsor.
Glad to, Tracy. Tired of getting crushed by chargebacks each time your brand sells product? From dealing with hundreds of forms that all look different to fighting tooth and nail to get repays, managing deductions is tough work. And you're almost certainly leaving money on the table. Fortunately, there's a solution. Floret was built to help brands like yours. With Floret's software platform, you can automate your deductions workflow, get insight into your trade spend, and even have your deductions disputed for you. Whether you're a scrappy young brand trying to break into retail or an established supplier looking to get sharper on trade, Floret will put money back in your pocket. We've saved brands hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone. Visit www.tryfloret.com to book a demo and learn more. That's www.tryfloret.com.
Again, we encourage you to subscribe to our iTunes or Spotify channel at Road, 2 Retail.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest Road to Retail podcast. Thanks for joining us today. And good to see you, Bruce. And Bruce, why don't you tell our audience today who we have on our show?
Will do. And thank you, Tracy. Today, folks, we're joined by Anu Bliss. Anu is the general manager of digital e-commerce at the Emerson Group. So Anu, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So before we dig in, why don't you give the folks a little bit of your background and your journey to your current position, please?
Sure. So as you said, I am the general manager of the digital commerce practice at the Emerson Group. I've been here for about 4 years. Time is flying by. Joined in the throes of COVID. Before that, I am an 18-year veteran of Johnson & Johnson pre-Kenvue days. I did all kinds of roles like sales strategy, shopper marketing, field sales, and regional food in particular. And 9-ish years ago, I decided to make the leap over to e-commerce. So the team was starting up. They hired, after a long search, they had hired a VP from PepsiCo to kind of lead the charge there. And I raised my hand right away. And at the time, I was calling on Harmon, which was a great, now defunct retailer, part of Bed Bath & Beyond, and loved calling on them. They carried all of our items, especially if we brought them the right Dunkin' Donuts order. So very relationship-based business.
Yeah.
Learned so much by understanding what their needs were, and how you could take a relationship. I used to always be afraid of sales, and then I realized it was really about not just the relationship, but understanding what your buyer needed, right? And what would help them make their job easier. And once I unlocked that, I really got on board with the whole sales process. But I knew we needed to do something different. And I knew that I was starting to shop online. I knew that, you know, coupons and newspapers were not necessarily going to be the future. And quite frankly, I was worried about, I'm always thinking about career longevity. I think we all are. And I thought, I just raised my hand and said, I'm going to make this change. And a lot of my peers said, why are you going over to that group? It doesn't really exist yet. We're doing so well over here. Harmon's a great gig. Like I said, they carry all my items. And, I also wanted to prove that if I could make the change after being in a traditional role for so many years, that my peers could as well. And so, it's always fun to start up a brand new role. And I was basically beating a drum to all of our retailers around content and all of our brand partners within Johnson & Johnson. After setting up the Bricks and Clicks or omni-channel business in North America, I was tapped to move over to the global team being one person. That was me. So head of global e-commerce, it sounds like a very glamorous role until you realize, you don't have a ton of resources. You're flying from market to market and trying to explain why this is going to be a big deal. I think interestingly, what I decided to do was spend quite a bit of time in the Asian market, particularly Southeast Asia and China. And from there, I was able to take a lot of the learnings that I had to try to translate them over to the US and to Europe in particular. I found out the reason why the penetration was so high in China was really at the time, and this was, now I'm saying 5-ish, 6-ish plus years ago, they really accelerated because of SARS and MERS. And so just like COVID accelerated the e-com experience for us in the US, something very similar had happened prior in Asia, in China in particular. And so it was fascinating to see how sped up the journey was there and what I could take to try to increase penetration of e-commerce and digital commerce in the Western markets. So, I traveled quite a bit and learned a ton, learned how to build an e-com business, what kind of characteristics and qualities folks needed to be successful in this area, and was approached by the Emerson Group back in early 2020 to help build the team there. And here I am today.
That's awesome.
That's quite a journey. And I'm sure you don't miss some of those long flights, maybe a little bit, but probably not often.
It was the time difference is tough. Did a lot of Sunday night calls because it was Monday morning in Asia. Actually covered for somebody's maternity leave base in Singapore. So when brand managers wanted to sneak something in, they would put the meeting on at 2 p.m. their time, which was 2 a.m. our time. So I had to get real clever about how to do things.
That's gruesome. So before I kick it to Tracy, one of the things, Anu, as you know, that we're going to dig in on in your role, while we'll talk about e-commerce in general, we're really going to start talking about the beast you wrestle with a lot, and that's Amazon, and how our audience of small, emerging challenger brands, need to think about it. And maybe you're going to tell us they need to think about it not much different than real big guys, but that's just to level set for the people listening. Tracy?
Absolutely. But first, I want to say, Anu, I'm impressed with your entrepreneurial and your pioneer spirit, because that takes a lot, to make that jump. So I just want to say, well done. So I love that. So as Bruce said, we're going to talk about Amazon today. And as you know, most of our listeners are small emerging brands. So talk to us a little bit about what questions and considerations, brands need to consider before making that leap and jumping into the Amazon pool, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think we're often of this mindset that, because the barrier to entry to post or list something on Amazon is quite easy, right? There's millions of sellers throughout the world that just put their stuff up on the marketplace and, you know, maybe are successful. It's not for the faint of heart, I would say. And if you're a smaller emerging brand, there's considerations that you should make. I mean, that are imperative to make, like, unless you have very deep pockets, you have to think about financial implications. You have to think about operational implications. And you have to think about, does your product align with the Amazon customer? Does the pack size make sense? Does the price point make sense? Do you have consistent ways, when I talk about operations, do you have consistent ways to deliver inventory? Do you have the cash flow as sales go up and down, and you have to be able to stomach the ride? Do you have, enough as far as like willingness to invest in the media side of the platform, right? Or, and also, do you have excellent content? And I think that's where it all really begins. The other piece is risk assessment. Like, do you have the tolerance for risk? What do I mean by that? I mean, the algorithm can change. Amazon strategy can change. At the beginning, they were all about top line, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being profitable was not necessarily consideration. So what did we all say as manufacturers? Throw everything on the platform, right? It's the everything store. And they're still saying that, but the reality is they're being challenged to become more profitable, which means in turn, we need to be. So I'd say those are the main, making sure you can stomach the risk, the cash flow factor, making sure you have consistent inventory. And can you compete on price and delivery? Because Amazon sets thresholds, and consumers, we all expect it's going to come within 2 days, right? That's how they've trained us. And now they're starting to train us around same day. Yeah. I'm amazed I can order something in the morning, I can have it by lunchtime.
Yeah, Tracy has a lot of drones coming to his house all the time from Amazon.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, Anu, because, when brands, not too long ago, Amazon was the wild, wild west. You could throw up whatever you wanted. And you read all these articles about, oh, I became a millionaire overnight because I, created this product and I threw it up on Amazon. And I love what you're saying is that's not really the case anymore.
No, I mean, it takes discipline and it takes patience, and you have to be in it for the long haul.
So Anu, let's dig in there a little bit. I think that kind of leads to the next topic. How should a brand think about working with Amazon? I mean, I've worked at places where it's been defined as an advertising platform that happens to sell stuff. And I've also worked at places that treat it and plan like it's just another retailer. What do you think the right mindset is for, maybe it holds for any brand, but especially the smaller guys where money might be really precious and a misstep could be fatal?
So I do a lot of LinkedIn reading, like I'm sure most of your viewers do, and you both do. And somebody said something brilliant. I think they said, you sell to a retailer, you sell on Amazon. So I would not consider it right? That's such a simple way to explain this to folks. It's like, we like to leave a lot, at least I did as a salesperson. I used to leave a lot to magic when it came to selling in my items and making sure they were staying on the shelf. What do I mean by that? I mean, I knew that my baby by Harmon really liked corn muffins from Dunkin' and a box of Joe. And I may not have had consistent inventory or all the specs available when I was selling in my new item, but gosh, we were going to sit down and have coffee and have a great conversation and shoot the shit basically. And he'd accept it eventually, and be a little more patient with me. Right. On marketplaces like Amazon, it's really up to you. It's up to the manufacturer to make things work, and I think you have more ownership that way, which is a beautiful thing, but it's a lot of work. And so, the thing is, this is where all the traffic is going, right? Like we always say, it's what, $7 million now for a 30-second Super Bowl spot, something astronomical. The amount of traffic that goes to that platform, to Amazon, the Super Bowl every day, right? So when we talk about, is it advertising? Is it a retailer? Is it a marketplace? The answer is yes, it's all of that. And I think if you're choiceful, you have to be very strategic and understand, what role do you want Amazon to play? What role do you want Amazon to play with, the growth and health of your brand? And I think if you have that right mindset and you understand that some of this is going to promote awareness driving for your brand, then I think you can tolerate some of the other stuff. The other stuff means it's very difficult to work with them. The profitability is challenging and it needs to be monitored constantly. But this is where the eyeballs are going. And as manufacturers, we need to follow the eyeballs, right? And be where the consumer is shopping.
Yeah, great insight. I love it. Bruce,
I like
anything?
that Super Bowl every day. That just made my notes from this discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a sports person, but I think that's one everybody can relate to, right?
I love it. Bruce, I think we just got a new bumper sticker.
Yeah, we did.
Awesome. Well, good. So obviously Amazon is growing. So talk to us a little bit about how, as a brand, you balance what you're doing on Amazon with the business you have with other retailers, because of course, every retailer in the world now is looking at, okay, well, first question, what's your price on Amazon, right? And I have a benchmark of where I want to be. So tell our emerging brands, like, how do you balance that, your Amazon business, with doing business with brick and mortar retailers?
It's such a good question. It's one we wrestle with at the Emerson Group every single day. I would say each week we see at least 10 new emerging brands, and sometimes more. And the thing that we coach on, we caution on, is have a plan. Have a plan, because many times brands come to us and they say, I'm in Costco and I'm in Amazon, and can you help me? And it's like,
yeah,
you need some kind of differentiation.
right.
And it's expensive. Like, if you're going to be an emerging brand, have it on, and you're going to start on Amazon, have a unique UPC. Why? Because if the other 3P sellers show up, they won't be attached to your pages. Make sure that, you have an idea if, like, next I want to go into Target, next I want to go into Kroger, next I want to go into Walmart. Have somebody help you. I grew up in trade marketing. It doesn't matter if it's digital commerce or if it's brick and mortar. That is such a valuable role. And I would encourage anybody that has that experience to be like more confident about when you're launching into Amazon. Those things that you learn, those disciplines in trade marketing, they still really matter. And you want to make sure you have some kind of differentiated strategy, whether that be, unique items that you'd put in bulk that you sell to dollar, or to, another channel that might be a little more unique, but maybe sell larger sizes. I have a real issue with this everything store concept, because Amazon is still saying, they want a full selection, but it comes at a cost, right? And so
sure.
it's just math. You want to sell a $3 item or $5 item, and a lot of our portfolio in health and personal care is under $10. We all know it costs $5 to $7 to ship something to somebody's house. And if, you can find the exact, numbers, Amazon posts, especially for Seller Central, on how much shipping costs per item, or on average, or what they're going to charge you. If it's costing the manufacturer $3 and it's costing Amazon $5, and your item is $6 or $7 or $8, you're not making money.
No.
And this is why I'm talking about magic, because we often rely on magical thinking, and at some point Amazon's going to come back to you and they're going to say, we're not making money. We want this, but the sales are through the roof. Well, what good is it for anybody if
you're not making money?
You're not making any money. unless you're using that as an awareness driver and you've aligned with your leadership up front that this is the role it's going to play.
Yeah, we've talked about Anu that you called it magic. Tracy and I have said, well, unless you're going to hire Harry Potter, that's just not going to work.
Same concept.
So one question to go a little deeper on something you said. You sell on Amazon, you sell to a retailer, that's good. You know, how do you think about this in terms of budget? And you said about unique UPCs. So do you think that having a unique UPC on one of your core items, let's say 100 count tablet of something, or should you have a truly proprietary SKU and do like 125 count to just completely, well, maybe never completely, but do all you can to divorce yourself from your your quote unquote core brick and mortar SKUs?
It's hard. Like if I can wave my magic wand, I would like it if in brick and mortar stores we sold singles of items, and on Amazon we only sold large unique pack sizes, right? That can't be price matched, you know, between brick and mortar and online. And so that's not the reality, right? Like, but if the cycle we keep getting into is we are selling the same exact product on Amazon as we're selling it at every street corner, at every Walgreens and every CVS. And that's the price matching keeps happening. And Amazon will match on ounces, on pills, etc. So to answer your question, I would look for if in a perfect world, it would be a completely unique item.
And when you say unique item, do you mean, and I wanted to clarify this for our audience, so are you talking maybe like a bundle or a multi-pack?
Yes, a bundle, a multi-pack, a regimen pack.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And one more question on a little bit of the deep dive. So you talked about having a strategy. And so my question to you is, out of, let's say, 10 new emerging brands that you talk to, how many actually have a strategy and how many stay with it?
Anu?
Uh-oh, I think she froze.
I think your question was very hard, Tracy.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
There she's back.
Sorry about that. I don't know.
That's okay.
I was okay. It says my connection is unstable.
Yeah.
Tracy and I have been accused of being unstable, so maybe it's all fine.
That's right. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
I'd say 2 out of 10. And I'd say often one of those 2 get stars in their eyes because they meet the Target buyer or they meet the Walmart buyer who is in love with their product. And discipline is hard.
Yeah.
Discipline is hard. But we do see some brands that have been very strict about their strategy. Often the influencer backed ones, the celebrity backed ones that we've been doing some work with, some influencers like that. And they've been quite disciplined in their approach. Granting exclusives to one retailer first and then move on.
And it's very hard, as you know, Anu, for an entrepreneur to be disciplined. A lot of times those don't normally go hand in hand.
Exactly, right? Because the skill set to be an entrepreneur is not necessarily to be disciplined.
No.
Exactly.
So as we keep digging in here, Anu, what are some of the basics that a brand should have nailed down before they go into Amazon? And if you could you clarify and put in your definition of 1P versus 3P? Because, you know, people throw that around and then I hear them talk about it and I'm like, you actually have that backwards. So it'd be great to have you explain what those are, the pros and cons of each. And then you already referenced earlier the need for like excellent content. So maybe talk then a little bit about product detail pages and video and all these things.
All right, Bruce, that was quite a multi-part question. So I'll try
well,
to
I'm practicing for Face the Nation. So I'm trying to confuse you.
I'll try to stay with it, but let's start with 1P versus 3P. This is the first question brands ask us, or we end up asking emerging brands when they come by and come to the Emerson Group for some advice. 1P is it's as traditional of a relationship as we're used to. Like Amazon writes us a purchase order, we send them pallets, right? Or we send them cases. The onus is on Amazon to drive the forecast, and, it's more of a wholesale type of a relationship. When we have a brand that already has distribution throughout all the retailers and, traditional retailers and marketplaces, that's often the way to go, because there are some items there that, first of all, as a brand, I love getting a huge first fill, right? Like you love getting a big order, right? That you can count on and try to anniversary every year. If you're a brand that has no distribution, that's brand new, then 3P can make a lot of sense, because you have more control over your costs, your content, etc. But you have to be very patient, because the way the algorithm works, the ordering, it keeps building on itself depending on how successful you are. The thing that I would caution is, there was a period where we said 3P was much less expensive than 1P, because 1P you have, there's an annual vendor negotiation that happens. You have a traditional co-op rate, which can vary. I've seen everything from 5% to 25%, depending on your category. And, there's all kinds of fees associated there as well, like returns and damages, etc. 3P has become, I think 60+% of Amazon's revenue now on the retail side is coming from third-party marketplaces. So they've gotten very smart, of course, because they're very smart, and they've increased their prices. And the other thing is, you can send in as much inventory as you like through seller, but the problem is that you will get hit with storage fees if you're not turning that product fast enough. And we're all optimists, right? If you're launching a brand, you're an optimist. This is a great differentiated brand. It's going to be the next big thing. And then you send in a ton of inventory, and then guess what? You're going to get hit with a lot of fees. So we have a very tight P&L between 1P and 3P. And one of the first things we do is we run the numbers for a brand. And there's different considerations. Like, you should have potentially more control over your 3P, right? But if Amazon sees that, or their algorithm sees that your pricing is way out of whack through Seller Central or 3P, they will suppress your item. So you have more control on seller, or 3P, but with reason. It's not so. Not all the destiny is in your hands. If they see similar items in the marketplace for $10 and you're selling it for $20, they're going to suppress your item.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're going to get to the buy box in a second. So, pushing into my 17-part question there, what about having your product detail pages and the other content ready to go on Amazon? Because I think a lot of people, and maybe you'll say, Bruce, you can do it that way. I think some of these entrepreneurial folks think I can shoot like a couple of pictures with my iPhone and send them in and take a video with my kid eating my lollipop, and it's all great. I mean, what's your counsel?
Yeah, and it might be depending on how compelling or cute your kid is, right? But I think you should have all of your content ready to go, and you should be willing to invest the time and money to keep iterating on it, depending on how it's performing. Making sure you have all of your carousel filled out, you have lifestyle images, you have short form video, you have a method by which to gain reviews and ready to go, right? Consistent inventory. I can't tell you how many brands get upset with us that they're not selling product, but they are not able to ship in inventory consistently. So the thing is, there's, a few different things that need to be done. Your price pack architecture, like I said, having consistent inventory, making sure when I talk about price pack architecture, what does that mean? It means you have the right pack size for the right consumer and the right price around it. So the size and the price. And then there are so many ways you can put content together now. We use an agency in-house at the Emerson Group called Montclarity. And they are awesome, but you have to keep making sure you're optimizing your content and making sure that there's a list of hit words that Amazon has. Like, we have a lice control product that we actually represent at Emerson, and we found out you can't say the word kills. If you have the word kills, kills lice or kills bacteria. If there's hot words that Amazon has, you have to make sure you're very clear about what those are, because your item will be turned off.
Wow.
It'll be suppressed. So all this information is out there on how to be successful, and there's a multitude of places you can go and experts that you can talk to. If anybody says they know everything about how Amazon works, don't trust them. Absolutely
Right.
don't trust them, because we learn something different every day about how Amazon's operating. And I think they do too, because they change their strategy, they change what those hot words are. So it's very important to keep up to date. And that's just one small example. But your content is everything, right? You have to invest in great content. I liken it to, you walk by a shelf in a traditional store and the product's not there and you're wondering why it's not selling.
Anu, what kind of frequency do you counsel your clients in terms of refreshing content? Is this like an every quarter? Is it once a year? What's the rhythm that you
It's a
think is
good
right?
question. I mean, it depends on the brands and the categories. Like, at minimum once a year, but I would like twice a year, but also quarterly, you should be evaluating your keywords, right? And seeing what the most frequent searches are, and making sure that you're constantly optimizing those listings.
Yeah, it's a continuous improvement thing, is what you're saying.
For sure. It's not set it and forget it. It's not,
No.
The planogram gets reset once a year, or or twice a year. Those days are gone.
Totally different ball game, it sounds like. Awesome. Well, let's this is a really important one, so we're going to do a pretty good deep dive here. Let's talk to us about the buy box. Tell our audience a little bit about what is it, how do you get it, how do you keep it, how can you lose it, and if you do lose it, how do you get it back? So I know this is an important topic for us today.
Sure. So the buy box is that white box on the right-hand side, and it allows on the product detail page on Amazon, and it allows consumers to add to cart or buy now. And the more consistently you can keep that buy box as the seller, the more sales you'll have. As there's often, it's an entrepreneurial place, right? Like, Tracy, Bruce, and I can start a business in our garage, and we can buy. Rite Aid will be having buy one, get one free, or there's a mailer at Costco, and there's all different places you can acquire product, right? And it's, like a flea market. So your very own same products can be sold on the marketplace of Amazon. And if they have, the things that you need consistent pricing, you need consistent inventory, you need to have the best content, and you need to have excellent reviews. And that builds trust. It's a funny thing to say, like trust in with the consumer, but also trust with the algorithm, right? So those are the main key points. They seem very obvious, but they're not always so easy to master. And so, as a manufacturer and as a brand manager, you're like, yeah, of course I need all of those things. But the reality is, raw materials are late, or, the budget wasn't approved for search, or, you may have some reviews that are not that favorable, right? So the more consistent you can be, it's not sexy, right? This is just block and tackle stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just block and tackle stuff. we all like to chase the shiny stuff. So I'll have brands say, what about DSP? Amazon ads is asking me about advertising Thursday night football or streaming, should we do that? Not if you don't have this stuff in place, right? Because if you're not winning the buy box and your product's not showing up at the top of search, you're just wasting your money. You're just throwing it away. So I would encourage everybody to really focus on the fundamentals. I know that's not groundbreaking or exciting to say, but it's imperative.
No,
Right.
so here's a quick example, Anu, that I hope builds off of what you're saying and with your counsel. So all brands, regardless of size, occasionally are caught with short-dated products. And sometimes a resourceful salesperson may sell it through a closeout. Well, all of a sudden that price now lives out online, and Amazon and other retailers find that price. Some of them will immediately match. Some will pick up the phone and call a new Bliss, their salesperson, and read you the riot act. So, and then once the bot finds that low price, they don't necessarily snap back to your normal price a week later, and you're digging out. So there's an example where I've been privy to losing the buy box because for some reason we've lost control of pricing our own product, right? And sometimes it's on purpose, which is unfortunate, and sometimes it's an honest mistake. But regardless, you've now created a problem which causes your brand to lose your own buy box.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a great example. And, I mean, you can read this 10 times a day on LinkedIn, but Amazon is a mirror. And you need to have control over where your inventory is going. And, another piece that helps you control the buy box. And, I'd love to start a revolution with all VPs of sales at all consumer packaged goods companies is we should be incentivizing salespeople. We all had quotas. We all grew up with quotas in the sales world. We should be incentivizing on consumption and not shipments. And the reason I say that is because that's one way that you can control your inventory. I can't tell you how many times at year end we pulled forward volume to store managers. And what happens, they need to dump their inventory, right? They'll buy it with incentive. You give them 2% or, encourage them some other way. And then, we turn around and wonder why we've lost the buy box on Amazon, because people are very clever and they'll go out and they'll snap up product at discount, or that they'll make that a full business, and so this is no different than the diverter days, right?
Yep.
I was just thinking that exact thing, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So Anu, what's the process aside from, taking care of your own business and, as you said, taking care of the things that aren't sexy, but they're very important. If you get out there and Bruce, Tracy, and Anu are an unauthorized third-party reseller, are there other avenues to stomp them out, or do you just have to wait it out and let their inventory dry up?
I wish I had a great answer for you. I think, everybody wrestles with this. I think, I would look in your own house first, as I said, and make sure you have all of your consistent and you have all of those things that you need to get done that we've discussed. There are lots of great agencies out there. Voorhees is one that we use, right? They can send cease and desist letters, et cetera. I think MAP policies also do matter. But the thing that's so frustrating is it just takes a little bit of inventory to really cause disruption for a long time. And I think that's the piece that I'd be, is the most frustrating. So Bruce, it's a little bit of both, right? Like you have to have your house in order, and then I haven't, if somebody has acquired this product legally and the product's not counterfeit and the product's not, expired, we have sent Amazon proof and letters and things like that, showing like that there is some type of adverse or like danger to the consumer. Amazon will comply and they will shut down those sellers. So, if we feel the product's counterfeit in particular, they are very receptive to that because they're very consumer centric, but if it's good product and it's not short dated, there's, you have to let it dry up. But that's why, again, we're a little dysfunctional with how we run how we run our business. Like, we want sales. We all want sales, meaning POS.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's interesting when you've been involved in brands and you see the list of third-party resellers. It's kind of like Butch and Sundance. Who are those guys? And they're
no telling.
All right, so Anu, let's move into let's let you brag a little bit here. So tell us what your greatest success so far. I know there's probably going to be a better one next week, but what's the thing that you guys and your team have done at Amazon where when you sit back, whether it was a week ago or 5 years ago, and you go, boy, that really worked out?
So when I came in, our cost to serve on the platform was, first I want to back up and say, when you first mentioned this question to me, I was having trouble thinking of something because it's a battle every day, and every day we face challenges. And there's rarely a day when you work with Amazon where you're like, so I got that all figured out. I've never had that day. So, and I will continue to not have that day. But when I started with the Emerson group, we looked at the cost to serve, and it was extremely high. It was how in terms of profitability for our brand partners, it was higher than drug, which is known to be very high.
Right.
I think with building a team, with automation, with defining root causes for chargebacks, compliance issues, and this is not me, this was my team, and bringing in the right tools and resources, we've been able to bring that down considerably. And that's what I'm most proud of, because the goal should be a profitable and sustainable business, right?
Well, and that's why brands work with you guys at the Emerson Group, and other firms that do similar functions. I mean, that's a big win if you can make your business more profitable for your clients. Amen.
Absolutely. So Anu, on the flip side of that, you talked about your success. Tell us about like one thing you would do. What's your do-over dealing with Amazon?
Oh my gosh. I would caution, I would be much stricter with brands about what they launch on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
We let the cat out of the bag, and we've had brands with one ASIN launch, and I would not want that to happen again, because if something, let's say that ASIN didn't have inventory or lost the buy box or was suppressed because they didn't have the right language of the day, then they have no sales. And, I'd make sure that, we try to be much stricter about when we launch, what we say is appropriate to launch, like multi-packs, like more than one item.
Mm-hmm.
So Anu, can you just tell the folks what an ASIN is and why it's important, please?
Yeah, ASIN is Amazon's version of a UPC.
Got it.
Right.
Good. Okay.
All right, Anu. So with the career that you've had, can you tell us who's had the greatest impact on your career to date, and what this person or opportunity did for you, aside all the frequent flyer miles you bagged when you were going to Asia all the time?
So just thinking of my career at J&J, I had in 18 years, I had 10 different roles, and not because I necessarily wanted to move 10 times. Some of these were org changes, that's the name of the game, was reorg changes, right? So I had, you learn, I'm not going to name names, you learn a lot you learn just as much from bad managers as good ones. And bad means, I don't know, my dad always would say, people are not all good or all bad, right? And so you have to take from all of that. I think I've tried to take the good from each of my managers that I've had, the ones that enable you, The ones that trust you, the ones that challenge you are definitely the ones that were the most memorable. But, I'll tell you, the best manager I've ever had and one of the best humans I've ever come across is Scott Emerson. He's brilliant, and he's brilliant because he understands that to get the best out of people, you should treat people like gold. And I've really taken that to heart, and I've tried to emulate that as much as I can, not just with my teams, but with my brand partners as well. He's just a very unique soul. And if you ever have the pleasure of meeting him, you should take that opportunity. But the generosity of spirit that he has makes us all feel like we can fly. And I think that's just
That's awesome.
Irreplaceable.
Well, I concur on Scott. I've had the fortune to know him for a long time now, and I think that you're exactly right. I also like your analogy of you can learn good and bad from like every manager. I tell people that have worked with me or my kids now that they're growing up, I was like, everyone you work for, you're going to get good things and bad. Put the good in a pile, but also keep the bad in a pile so that as you go forward, try not to do that.
Right. You know what
do
kind
the
of
good
manager you
stuff.
want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you can be a knucklehead, or you can be someone that, makes you feel good about life in general and your job. Anu, okay, so thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, this is a juicy topic because most people, Tracy and I, we hear entrepreneurs talk about Amazon, and our joke is they're going to go to Home Depot, buy orange buckets to catch all the money that's just going to fall out of the sky. And it's a bit more complex than that.
I wish.
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you, Anu, how do they learn more, reach out to you, or learn about the Emerson Group? What's the best way, please?
Anu Bliss on LinkedIn, or anu.bliss@emersongroup.com. Would love to hear from you, and happy to give any advice we can offer.
Well, thank you so much. Tracy, the big finish.
Absolutely. Well, this was awesome. Great insight on Amazon. I know our small emerging brand audience is going to love this. And we thank you again for being our guest. And we just encourage people listening to follow us on our iTunes and Spotify channel, and also on our LinkedIn page. So thanks again, Anu, for joining us, and a great episode.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck out there, folks.
Thank you.